Hello and welcome to Pitch Purpose, the podcast for marketing leaders in purpose-driven organizations. Behind every great business is a marketing team working to balance profit and purpose. I'm Ian Scott, CEO of digital agency Exceptional, and I'm joined by my brilliant co-host Emma Healy, MD and founder of PR and content agency Thinking Hat Media.
In each episode, we talk to some of the country's most experienced CMOs and marketing directors about moments that have defined their organisations, from campaigns that broke the internet to pioneering initiatives that set new standards. We uncover how those big ideas came to life and what happened once they launched.
We'll explore the purpose behind each campaign, the impact it delivered, and the lessons along the way. Crucially, we'll dig into the financials too, the rollout costs, and the return on investment. This is the show for marketers in purpose-driven organizations who want to learn how others have successfully balanced purpose, profitability, and commercial growth.
So welcome to Pitch Purpose, and let's dive in. Today, we're joined by insurance disruptor Steve Darrah. He's a founder of Really Honest, a B Corp insurance company built on a very simple premise. What if business insurance wasn't actually shit? Stephen started the business because he genuinely loathed the insurance industry and over time realised that good intentions were not enough. Really Honest gives 1% of its revenue to environmental causes and plants a tree for every policy sold. This episode is all about their bold transformation from fueled into Really Honest, why they decided to invest six figures into rethinking the brand from the ground up, and what it really takes to build a purpose-led business in a very traditional category.
Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Insurance is one of those things that we need, or kind of resent actually having.
Sure.
Hopefully we'll never use it. And the insurance companies behind it also hope that we'll never use it. That's how they make their money. What is Really Honest doing that makes insurance not shit?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, insurance is an oxymoron in itself, right? It's like you stress and spend ages over getting a piece of paper that you don't really know what its worth is, and you only really find out its worth when you have to use it, which obviously you hope you never do. So it's one of the most strange purchases I think a business and individuals can make. I guess the intention behind Really Honest is actually just to lift the iron curtain, so to speak, on the insurance industry. I think if you speak to anyone and you ask them what their experience is with insurance, they'll be like, Jesus, it's the worst thing I buy. There's no enjoyment in it whatsoever. And the rethink behind Really Honest for us was, what if we could make insurance an enjoyable purchase? And what if we could create something that people didn't loathe buying when it came to it? And throughout the process, they get nice little rewards and their money goes to a good place and they buy it from someone who's genuinely on their side when something goes wrong. And that to us feels like anti-insurance insurance, really. And I guess that's always been what my goal has been in this journey.
So I love that term, anti-insurance. Would you consider Really Honest to be a disruptive brand?
You know, it's a question I've asked myself. So I set the business up 8 years ago, and really it's been a question I've asked myself since then. Are we a true disruptor in the space? And, up until now, I don't think we were. We were doing some cool things, and we had a unique brand at the time. And, over time, the industry's kind of caught up with what we were trying to do. Even so much as 8 years ago, I was like, I'm never going to wear a suit again. And now it feels like that's almost normal for insurance brokers not to wear suits. So it's little things like that I feel the industry has evolved, and that's great. But for us, the next step is to be that true disruptor. I think if you look at other industries, particularly banking, you've got a Monzo now where everyone goes, they're a cool little bank, and well, not so little anymore, but Revolut or another. And I don't think insurance has had that one true disruptor yet that have come along and gone, we're how it should be now. You couldn't think of walking into a bank nowadays to deposit a check, right? That just seems so weird.
Wild.
Yeah.
What makes you guys truly different to everybody else? How are you disrupting? And also, how is that reflected in your marketing?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So how we're different right now is, I think it's mainly our customer service and how we go about that. You know, our intention is not to speak to our customers once a year. We almost want to be talking to them every week. And just to give you an idea of, I guess, what our ideal customer profile is, like, we've only worked with scale-up companies over the last 8 years. So they are challengers in their industry. They're ones that are raising significant capital and growing way too quick. And, you know, when you grow quickly, the old style of insurance will never work for you. It's one of those things where, like, you can't just buy it in January, speak to your broker next January and expect it to be right. And I guess we've been that plug-in journey partner for those businesses to date, where, like I said, we want to speak to them weekly and make sure that their insurance is always right. That's, I suppose, from a service point of view. From a product perspective, we build in things into our products that make us unique. And, you know, one of our goals is speaking to our insurance partners like Hiscox and Beazley, and we want to create something so unique for our customers that when they buy it, they're like, oh, God, it's so cool. Like, I didn't have that before.
Yes.
And that's a nice little thing for us to have.
It's interesting you mentioned Hiscox, actually, because I think we work with them and we buy the policy every year, don't hear from anybody until it's time to renew again. And I don't actually know what we're paying for. Sure. So it's really refreshing to hear what you're doing.
It's common. It really is common. And, you know, like I said, it doesn't just stop there. I think we look at the insurance industry as a whole and what they do wrong. And we think, you know, how can we make that better? And for us, since inception, we've always been about giving back and doing the right thing. And we don't, you know, make massive investments in oil companies, and we don't insure migration camps. And there's just things like that for us was just important to have a morally sound structure to build from. And, you know, you mentioned in the intro about planting trees and giving back 1%, and that's great. It's just been normal for us, I suppose, to do that. And the next stage, under Really Honest, is about how we can take it one step further, and what more can we do? How can we really truly differentiate ourselves? And, you know, like I mentioned, the industry has definitely caught up with Fueled as to what we are today. How can we take the next step? How can we drive the next series of change that can bring the industry on a little bit further? And hopefully we're on track to doing that. Yeah.
You mentioned about, you know, you want to talk to your customers every week. I'm not sure I want to speak to my insurance company every week. What's the what's the hook in with that?
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things when you need us. So because of the types of customers that we work with, we have a set structure of once a quarter without fail. And I feel like that's probably enough for most companies. Yeah. And most of the time we reach out and we're like, hey, Dave, what's going on? How's things? What's changed? And they're like, you know, nothing. We're fine. Good to hear from you. See you again. And it's and that's it. But there are some where we catch things like, oh yeah, I added 20 employees this quarter. What the hell? Like, tell us earlier. So it's that kind of thing where we catch, to that point, underinsurance is a massive problem in the scale-up industry. It's like they grow too quickly, and by the time you go to make a claim, I remember how it came about. Actually, I was an insurance broker on a case where the London riots occurred, and one business had raised just over 100 million. They'd put a load of new stock into one of the industrial units downtown, and there was a fire. And because they'd grown so quick, they'd only insured, so they only had insured 10% of what was actually in. No. The insurer at the time were amazing, and I think they went on average and paid something like 80%, which was astonishing. So it was a great result for the customer, but in theory, they could have lost 90% of
it could have been a disaster.
Could have been a disaster. So that was actually what spurred me on to think, well, that was obviously in another organisation. When I set up my own, I was like, I've just got to make sure that we just don't fall into that trap.
Let's talk about the rebrand, because this is, you know, kind of the focus of one of the topics today. You were Fueled, you're now Really Honest. Rebrands themselves are not, you know, a cheap activity to undertake, but it definitely comes under the marketing remit. I feel there is, you know, what I know about you and from what we've discussed before the recording, the essence of the brand necessarily isn't changing. You're still staying true to the level of customer service. You're still going to give 1% back. You're still going to plant trees for every policy. Why rebrand?
Yes. Weirdly, you'd think that question would keep me up at night, but it's just, it felt like it's been one of those things that was so obvious for us to do. Halfway through 2024, I bought a new Ned into the business called Andy Shovel, and you guys may know him from the plant meat brand This that have been really successful in their category.
Yes.
And the reason I brought him in was because I'd hit this kind of fork in the road where I'd noticed that we were kind of falling into the industry norms. Obviously not from a standards point of view, but other people were doing what we were doing, and it just didn't feel like I was still on that mission of completely changing the industry. And I brought him in from very strong FMCG background because I was like, we're struggling with our message, and we're struggling with how we outwardly look at customers. And for us, we'd done no rebrand and no marketing to date, and for us, it was about how do we kickstart that process to get eyes on us, because what we're doing is great, but nobody knows about it. And to bring in Andy with his FMCG background was like, he knows how to outreach to customers. He knows how to build a brand that makes people look at you and go, do you know what, they're great. And the tone, everything down to the tone of voice and how they portray themselves was something that we were really struggling with. So we went through a series of workshops, Andy and I. We spoke to hundreds of other founders during the process, and we kind of asked them all along the way, like, what they hate about insurance. And most of the phone calls were 3 hours long. Nobody's got a nice word to say about it, really. So we went through that process of talking to founders and really doing a deep dive on what's hated about insurance. And we started to say to ourselves, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? What if we built in this like little mechanism within an insurance policy? Like, people would suddenly start to feel good about insurance. And obviously picking the name was, I guess, tricky. And it's one of those that some people are like, some people hate. And we're over the moon with how the new brand has come out, and we can't wait to get it out there. But why we rebranded was really just to get eyes on us again, and to change our message, and to really sort of get the good things out that we're doing and stuff.
Did you already have a relationship with Andy, or did you? Oh, okay, great. How did that come about?
So This are one of our clients still today. So we picked up This as a client maybe 6 years ago, I think, when they were just moving into one of their new industrial units. And Andy's co-founder Pete called me and was like, I've got this massive bit of machinery, I can't get it insured anywhere. And we ended up insuring it that day as it was being delivered, so it's pretty cool. And since then they've obviously gone on to be a kind of category dominating client. And we still manage their insurance today. And as Andy was freeing up some time, as founders tend to do, he was looking for some Ned roles, and I approached him and said, I think you'd be great over here. He actually said to me when I spoke to him, he goes, I think you've got the wrong guy. Like, there's no like I just work in food, like, I can't do this. And as I explained my rationale and reasoning, and I spent some time with him, he completely got it. And we're thick as thieves now, to be fair. I stayed at his house last night before this, and we were doing some bits from a marketing perspective last night. So it's been good fun.
I'd be interested to learn a bit more about that. You mentioned marketing, having never, or in your own words, not done marketing before. Just on the rebrand front, though, what you've said there is it's an opportunity to re-engage and perhaps evolve the narrative and the story you're telling, and to go out to the market and say, hey, we're now really honest. And that makes it sound like you weren't before, but
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But and this is the offering. But is it going to be worth it? Let's talk about the numbers. How much is it costing you to rebrand?
Yeah, so I think it's going to cost just over 100K. I think
100 grand.
Yeah, just and it's the biggest single investment outside of people that we've made in the business today, without a doubt. And
how does that feel?
It's been daunting. Don't get me wrong, and there have absolutely been moments throughout the process where I've been like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, is this the right thing to do? Because
is that when you see the invoicing?
Yeah. Well, some it's not necessarily that, actually. It's we get great feedback as fueled, and we've built up a really strong, really unique customer base, and we only grow really by word of mouth right now, which is can be a blessing and a curse. But for us, it was those were the moments, I think, when we got great feedback from customers about Fueled and our current brand and how well we do. I think to myself, should we? Is it the right thing to do? And something will very quickly remind me that it is. And it's but the cost is one thing. It's a massive commitment. And we used a branding agency in London called Johnson Banks, led by Michael Johnson, who's just he's literally written the book on marketing several times. So it's
That's so cool.
so it's been great to work alongside him. And when I approached him, I said, this is what I want to do. And he said, I vowed never to work with an insurance company again 14 years ago, and I haven't. So it had to be a pretty good pitch from us, even just to bring Mike on board.
Definitely.
So, but it's been one of the, and I mean this when I say I have hated almost my entirety of my career in insurance. It's just been such a drag, and it's a conversation killer at dinner parties. It's awful at networking events. It's just one of those things that it's just nothing feel good about it at all. And I have to keep reminding myself that that's the reason why. I feel like we can change that. And
so 100 grand. I'm going to come back to numbers. How does that break down?
So in terms of the design, branding, tone of voice, that comes in at about 50k. Website wise, we're looking something like 2025. We are having to spend on brand collateral, new merch, signage, changing names everywhere we can. And then there's some bits and bobs that we're doing alongside the brand relaunch, like expos and a couple of other bits. Outside of that, we're currently in the throes of an investment round as well, which is great. Okay, so we're due to close that hopefully by the end of January. It might well be.
How much are you going for, Steve?
So it's about 860k, which again is it's the only investment we've raised to date, really. So it's another thing that's kind of this is a multi-pronged approach, but what that allows us to do is finally bring in a head of marketing, which we've never had, and we're now building an entire marketing plan out around the rebrand, which is what Andy and I were doing yesterday. So it's an exciting time. It's completely uncharted territory for me. I'm just an insurance broker, really. That's all I've been doing for the last 16, 17 years. So this is all new and exciting, and it's definitely what I needed. When I mentioned that fork in the road before, that's kind of what I meant.
It's great to hear. Obviously, from Emma and I's point of view, running a marketing agency, that you're sitting here across from us saying how much you're ready and willing, and perhaps already have invested within marketing. Because from your background, you're saying we haven't done marketing before, but now you're going through a rebrand, and you've just said you've had a sort of brainstorming session with your Ned about how you're going to bring some attention to the new brand. So amazing. I speak from experience. My agency is from date of recording will be 5 days away, I think, from a relaunch and rebrand. And the biggest advice that I've been given around that is how much I'm going to feel energized around it and refreshed and something new. And I think for people like you and I, Steve, who are founders, that is so important from when you're talking with prospects, with clients, and of course with the team.
Yeah, I think you can definitely go through lulls as business owners as well. Some months, even some years, feel amazing, and then others you kind of question sanity on quite a few things. And I'd say 2024 was probably that year for me. It was like we weren't treading water because we've grown year on year, but there was an element where I was like, I don't feel as passionate about this as I did before, and I sort of like we'd lost our way a little bit as a business. So I do totally get the energized feeling. Like I skip into the office now, which is great. And I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. And just one final question before we wrap up on this segment is: you're spending 100 grand. You're probably going to spend more than double that when you think about the marketing that's going alongside it. How will you know if this has been a successful project?
I guess the numbers will tell us, right? That's what I'm hoping. But even if it doesn't, I think I've not really chased profit. I think if I can break even every year and do a great thing, then I'm fine about that. Like my background is from very, very little, like ex-council house kid from the middle of Gloucester. Like I take these take what I've done so far as an absolute blessing. So if I've created a brand that does bring the industry forward, and we've had fun along the way, like that's my definition of success, really, I think. But we'll see.
Oh, Steve, really inspiring. You've done a great job so far, and it's exciting to understand your reasons for the rebrand. But I think as Ian said, I think when you've launched a business, you've got to believe in it, don't you? You've got to feel that connection and know that you've got purpose, and you're proud of what you're presenting to people, because you are the biggest salesperson in your business. So good luck with the rebrand. That's really
best of luck with that.
exciting.
Thanks, guys.
So on to segment 2, so we've looked at which will hopefully be your biggest success to date, is the rebrand, which is really cool. What do you think's been your biggest learning in the journey so far?
Oh God, you're never as important as you think you are. That was a bit of advice I was given actually when I left my old job to start Fueled, and for me that kind of comment, while said in quite a negative way at the time, has been something I've carried through with me. The way in which we've grown a business, which is I guess fairly unique, is we've always retained our customers. That's been our number one goal. I think that once you've got a foundation of clients that stay with you and believe in what you're doing, that don't want to leave, then you can only ever grow as a business. And using that kind of mantra, as you're never as important as you think you are, you know, our retention rate on clients last year was 97%.
Wow.
And for us, as an in insurance, I think that's relatively unheard of. But you know, we've hit high 90s now for the last 7 years. So from our perspective, that's kind of the mantra about managing clients. Is like, let's just make sure that we look after them in everything we do. And if we pick up new clients along the way, like I mentioned by customer recommendation, then we'll just grow. And that's pretty much how we've grown to date. So
fantastic. And you think that 97% will be telling people in their network, and you know, obviously that's how it grows, and you continue to be successful.
Yeah, it's definitely how it's transpired. I'm just quite keen not to rest on our laurels. You know, as we grow, you know, we're about to invest a lot of money and try new areas of marketing. And the one thing I've been insistent on during this process is I just want to make sure that we've got employees in before we do that, because I don't want service levels to slip. So.
You touched on this earlier, and actually it's been a bit of a theme across this season of Pitch Purpose, and that's the word networking. And I think it's a very polarising term. Some people love it, some people hate it. I personally don't like the word, but I like, you know, the essence of it and what it means. Why do you potentially dislike networking? What's been your experience of that from a marketing perspective?
I guess, I mean, firstly, I hate networking. I've never liked it.
Why? I mean, we're walking into a room full of people you don't know.
What's not to love?
What's amazing about that? That's it's like my idea of hell now. I think walking into a room and just having to introduce myself to people.
Is it because you're an insurance broker?
I think it has.
You think they're all going to hate you?
It has to be. Right. I think there is some. There's obviously some stuff that's gone on before at marketing events where I'm just like, I'm not keen. But you know, I was forced in an earlier stage of my career to go to BNIs and the networking stuff, and you're just looking across the table at the travel consultant, and you feel obliged to send someone that you know to Barry, who's an absolute dick, just because you have to. And it's like you're forced to. I guess this is the thing, right? The leads that you hand over in scenarios like that are disingenuous. I think that the best way to make connections with people is in organic environments where you have either the common interest or business isn't the theme of the event. You know, for me, when you're going to a business thing and you have to introduce insurance, you have to talk about insurance, you completely lose all personality from the event. You know, if you go there as an individual and you talk about your interests and what you do and what you like, or you just try and come across in quite a genuine and passionate way about something that's not your job, that's where you make the best connections. And I think networking can be done right if it's in the right scenario. But I've just been to so many that fail and at that first hurdle. So that's why I hate it.
And what's your take on trade shows? Because I guess that's, you know, an important part of the marketing mix.
It's kind of like networking on steroids then, because you're paying thousands of pounds to be there.
Yeah. And I guess there's this, you know, we've done the Blue Earth Summit a few times, which is that's where I met you guys. And for us, it was, again, it's a big investment for us to do a trade show because we just don't. You spend money to be there, and then you have it in the back, as a founder particularly, you have it in the back of your mind that you have to cover costs, because otherwise it's a waste of money, right? But actually what's different about the Blue Earth Summit is that you've got this entire ecosystem around sustainability and business with purpose that everyone can talk about that's not about the theme of your business. So for us, when we're going there, people are intrigued by why an insurance broker's there and what we do that's different from the industry. And that creates a conversation about like our interests and kind of our moral standing and what we believe is right for businesses. And almost insurance is kind of like a tertiary conversation to that. And I think that's where it just feels way more organic to be in an environment like that, where there's a common interest outside of just business.
From being at the Blue Earth Summit, did you generate any tangible business leads?
I think we've done enough to wash our face, I think. And that was kind of the objective for us, is if we can go there and make a few connections and build on partnerships. And actually what's terrible about the Blue Earth Summit for me is I go there and I think to myself, that's such a great product, we need that. I end up spending more on other people's stuff because they're so cool, and I'm just like, yeah. So I say we've washed our face. We've washed our face from a cost versus business perspective.
What's been your experience? What are the worst parts of exhibiting at a trade show?
Oh God, there are so many, aren't there? I think we don't tend to do many trade shows now, and the Blue Earth Summit for us is actually kind of, it's an outlier to how we feel about trade shows in general. The first year of business, I must have been to 5 or 6, and it was a massive outlay for a startup company to be like, to just get eyes. I assume that trade shows are the ways to get eyes on us, but actually what I started to notice is that no self-respecting business sends the right guy to a trade show. for me personally, it's like I remember one at the Excel in London. It was a startup business expo, and I must have met 20 recruiters, 14 accountants. Like, it was just, and they were all sales guys in suits. That I get nothing from that.
So
and
no decision makers.
No decision makers. And I think Blue Earth is an exception to that, because they do tend to have decision makers in the room, and you have some great conversations. And if you're not, there are at least people there that are responsible for the sustainability efforts of that company, which still makes for an engaging conversation. Whereas you can go to a stereotypical trade show and it will just be salespeople. And as exhibitors, you get nothing from it. You get invited to these after parties, and then you get there and he's like, how did you get in? It's like, oh yeah, I got given a free ticket. You're like, why? Like, you're not, it's just, they sell you the dream of these after parties like this, where all the decision makers go and you can have a great conversation and we'll serve you food. And it's just the same people you've told to sod off 3 hours before. It's just, so trade shows do really get it wrong. And, we have grand plans actually, Really Honest, where we want to do a Really Honest Awards, where we take all the good that businesses do that they might not necessarily shout about, and give them awards on that basis. And it's all nominated, and we take nominations from people about the great things that businesses have done, and we bring them all together, celebrate the good in business. And it's like, it's moving away from that, I can do your books or I can do your accounts if you want, and you should use me as your recruiter. It's not that. It's about, like, what are the great things that you've done as a business, and how can we highlight that and tell everyone about what you're doing. And that's how I feel like trade shows should go.
Would you pay to exhibit again?
Some, yeah, not others. In fact, I'd pay not to be at some. It's just a colossal waste of time. But there's definitely some that align with our interests, and we know we're going to be in a room with great people. And I guess it's the whole kissing frogs thing, right? We've been through the process of being at bad trade shows. We know what to look for and what to avoid, and we could take on board the great things that are happening. And also, with some now, we do our own sort of research. We've got clients that attend these things. We ask them how they're getting on and how they've done it. And we had maybe 15, 20 clients already at the Blue Earth Summit. So for us, it was like, well, if they're going, they must be good, and that's kind of how we did it.
So networking and trade shows, very similar in terms of you having to speak to people ultimately, and cold. You've mentioned that Blue Earth Summit gives you an opportunity to connect with people, not just initially on business, but actually why you're at the show at all. And the examples you gave earlier about networking, just completely agree with you. I've been in those situations where I basically walk into a room full of people I don't know. I don't even know why they're there, apart from to sell to me.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There is no other reason. And you know what? I hold my hand up. Why am I there? Probably to do the same. So I agree with you. When the objective isn't business, then it really starts to work. I do a couple of things. One's a public speaking club. I run this wine event, which ultimately is just to get people together who enjoy, who have a passion for wine, but then maybe also talk shop as a secondary thing. But it is tough. Trade shows, I've never done one. I don't know if you have, Emma.
Never. No, never done a trade show. I've been invited to plenty, and it's actually quite daunting from a networking perspective.
Yeah.
Where do you start? Who do you speak to? How are you going to get value from it? For me, it's not something that works.
Because it's not just the show in itself; it's the follow-up. Perhaps it's the pre stuff you do, where you say, "I'm going to be here. Let's arrange a meeting," like I did with you,
Sure you did,
essentially.
I actually told you at the time that I've said no to everyone.
Yes.
so I don't know why I've accepted you, but actually it's
I don't know either. But
We're incredibly honoured, Steve. Thank you.
but thank you for being really honest about that.
Fine.
Good pun.
Yep, thank you. So the trade show itself tends to be another touch point. So I don't think those things and networking work in isolation. You can't go to one networking event and go, this has been successful. It usually is, this is my fifth one, or it's the sixth, seventh time I've met this person. And for you, for really honest as a brand, it's perhaps again the sixth, seventh, 10th time someone's had that touch point with you or with the brand. Before then, they're ready to go, okay, let's have a chat about insurance.
Yeah, I think also in sustainability as a sector as well. I think there's so many people that jump on a bandwagon in that respect. There was another insurance broker that paid 20k, I think, to sponsor the event this year that didn't even turn up. So they just wanted their brand in the space that people could see them. So, for us, Blue Earth Summit, I think that was our second Blue Earth Summit. I loved our first one so much. Definitely didn't make money on that one. But I wanted to come back and do it again because it feels like our people. It feels like where we kind of belong. Touching on where do you start at trade shows, I guess the thing that I hate above all else at trade shows in particular is when you go for the little walk around the room and you can just feel people's eyes following you as if to be like, are you coming over? Are you coming over? Are we going to speak? That to me gives me so much anxiety, just being like, oh God, I don't want to talk to them. But no, so I find that a bit the most difficult actually is kind of making the first contact.
Has there ever been a time in your journey so far where putting purpose above profit has potentially cost you more money?
Oh, I mean, every investment we've made in sustainability in some form or another has definitely ended up costing the business. Donating 1% to the planet and sustainable funds isn't.
That's revenue, isn't it?
That's revenue. Yeah, it's a commitment that we make to give back. And the point of doing that for me was when I had my son 12 years ago. I was like, what sort of world are we leaving him when it's just it's just crap everywhere. So I've always had that kind of mantra in the back of my mind, and try and instill that in the family as well. So yeah, I mean, there's always a scenario in which we try and do that. And we're a B Corp. I think that was mentioned at the top of the show as well. So for us, we have charity days all the time, and we go out and do stuff in the local community that we might not necessarily put on social media like others do. But for us, that's a cost of employees being out of the office. There's missed opportunity costs that we need to take into consideration. But I don't see the point in having a business if you're not going to leave somewhat of a legacy behind that's of good, rather than just ripping people off and taking cash and running.
How do you instill that culture within the team? Does it also, I'm sure it does, make you think about the way that you're hiring and who you're hiring?
Yeah, I also think that people find us because of what we do now, which is great. There was a time where people wouldn't want to work in insurance. I mean, there's still a time. It's still now, actually, now that I think about it. But there's, we have employees reach out to us all the time and say, hey, I've seen you guys, or I've heard about you guys, and I love what you do and how you do this and how you do that. Here's my CV. Let me know if any roles become available. We put a post out online the other day in light of hiring for 6 to 8 new roles in the first 2 quarters of this year. And we had something like 65 applicants, which without using a recruitment company for an insurance broker, I think is insane.
Fantastic.
So I think that we've reached a stage now where actually the positive, decent stuff we do is starting to snowball into something that people recognise as a good thing. And also, the world's kind of caught up with us now. I think if you look at what the benefits that people want within a business when they go for a job, I think we've had them all for some time. So
ticking lots of boxes. Going back to the networking conversation, and specifically at trade shows, are you a business card kind of guy or a QR code man?
No, I hand business cards back. I cannot stand them. Like, I have this like weird thing where, I was going through we were moving some stuff around the other day, and we're actually moving offices, so we've moved into a new office, and I took out one of the drawers and I found a business card in there from this guy called Dave from 5 years ago, and I was like, ew, like how have we still got this? It's just such a waste, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
you take it knowing you're never going to call that person or speak to that person. In some circumstances, often it can be useful, but
So when you get a business card, or when you've previously been handed a business card, you don't then email that person, to follow up.
no, I give it back. I give
Yeah,
it back. I'm just like, if I have one in my hand, I'm like, please take it off me. I don't do I just don't get it. And especially when you've got LinkedIn nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, why? You can just message people. Like, I'd sooner take someone's WhatsApp than I would a business card from them.
And actually, that will serve you well if you're going to do business in the Middle East, because they love WhatsApp in
WhatsApp.
Dubai and GCC. So you're ahead of the game there, Steve.
Yeah.
Insurance is really giving money for nothing, especially in business. Ian, what's your experience been?
I like to think I've got a successful business, and it isn't because I'm paying money for nothing. I have had to use it, actually. We had a leak in an office we had, not the one we're in now, many years ago. So, from the ceiling just fell loads of water all over, I think, 4 computers. So we claimed on contents. No one likes having to call them. Often there is some anxiety about whether or not it will be paid, or what proof is going to be required.
Yes.
And then, of course, we're talking, well, is this going to put my premium up?
Yes.
Because we all know, as insurance, they need to make money. I get that. It's somewhat, resentful that we have to, and by law sometimes, have it. But I am one of those people that I just prefer to sleep better at night, knowing that if anything happens and I do walk into a flooded office tomorrow, that I'm not going to have that I'd be covered.
Absolutely. We've had a few instances where the team have lost laptops, or they've been stolen on a night out from the office, and we're still trying to recover those costs now, which is really frustrating. Our experience has not been very good, actually, I have to say. So, we probably need to change our supplier, Steve. Maybe you guys will be getting a phone call. But from what your customers have told you, what are the main pain points? What are the gripes, and how are you doing things differently?
Yeah, I think you've covered, I suppose, the main one is the anxiety about cover not being right. It's, insurance, non-insurance people trying to manage insurance, they're just like, I don't know what I'm asking for. I don't know why I'm buying it.
Yeah.
Like, what does public liability actually mean?
Yes.
There's just little things like that I think is a stressful thing. It's the same. So you wouldn't ask me to defend my own legal claim, right? So it's like so from an insurance perspective, we're kind of asking people to learn insurance before buying it, and I don't think that's ever been right. I think there has to be something offered by an insurance broker that can talk someone through the process to say, you have this because this, you have this because this, and this is why. The whole point around claims for me was actually the biggest annoyance for me as a broker in the process is when we have to tell a client that their premium's gone up by 50% because they've made a £5,000 claim.
Ouch.
That's mental. And I challenged one of our insurers, which actually led to a new proposition for us, is if a client makes a 50k claim, they pay the insurer £3,000 a year, and in year 2 they've had to make a 50k claim. You put their premium up, but why? As an insurance provider, you're never going to recover your costs on that. So why leave a bad taste in their mouth? You charged them £3,000 before. There's no reason to put their premium up because they've had to use the thing you told them that they would need to use. So we've actually brought in a series of really honest promises alongside our insurance policies now. And one of them is that we guarantee not to put your premium up if you have a claim of less than 50k. That's just sensible business practice for me. I don't think the insurance industry should have an issue with it. And actually, when we ran the data, an insurer can never recover their costs on that claim, even if unless they put it up by an obscene amount, which no one will pay. So we went through that entire process of talking to founders, like, what do you hate about it? What do you hate about it? What do you hate about it? And that was probably the most common, is I pay you £3,000. Why do I then need to give you another 500 quid as an excess? that to me is insane. Like, it just makes no sense. I've got to give you £500 just so you can give me the laptop back. Like, so yeah, we've removed excesses from most of our policies now too. So it's just things like that. All the feedback that we had, we kind of took insurers to court over it, I suppose, and said, look, we want to bring these in now, and this is why. Yeah, it's been quite successful so far. We're really excited to relaunch these products as well, and hopefully, I think when we feed that data back to insurers after this process, it'll become industry norm not to do things like that again.
Good. I hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Let's talk about some campaigns in the wild, some other brands that we think are doing some interesting things. Steve, when we spoke before the recording, one particular campaign and company that stood out for you was Patch. They sell plants. Tell us a bit more about what you like about them.
Firstly, I love having plants around. It's like, for me, it's a non-negotiable. I think
plants are cool.
We've got them all over our house. We've got them all over the office. And for us, just having plants around just, I don't know, picks up the environment a little bit, I think. When I was sort of doom scrolling, I think it was Boxing Day or somewhere before, I saw Patch on Instagram, and they had this like segment about like the Unkillables range, and it was just big, bold, unkillable plants. And it really spoke to me because I'm an awful plant owner. Like, I buy a plant because it looks nice, and I just hope to God someone else looks after it for me, because I just can't. I can't look after them myself. So when I saw the Unkillables launch from Patch, I was like, Jesus, that's brilliant, because it speaks directly to me. And it dealt with the biggest objection for me buying a plant. It was like, oh, if I can't kill it, I should definitely buy it, because then I know it'll be fine and it'll still look great. So I love that kind of honest approach, and they're obviously acutely aware that it's a problem. They've had feedback, no doubt, from customers that said, look, love your plants, but I killed it within a month. And it's just that thing I thought it was great, really clever.
They also name their plants as well, don't they? I think we've got a Patch plant we bought years ago, still alive. His name is Mick.
Fantastic.
I think somehow naming them allows you, or maybe the word is forces you, to feel more connected. You know, when they've got a human name, it's like, well, I don't want to kill that plant. It's got a name, and
well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because like you were saying, you know, when you would buy a plant and you'd kill it, you'd feel bad.
Yeah, it's best not to give it a name in that scenario.
You don't want to kill Mick.
Yeah.
No, right. I think those things actually. Well, I'm not sure if this is similar, but years ago, someone told me that if you put your face, you'll love this, on your business card. Okay, so this is when we're still handing business cards around. People are a lot less likely to rip it up and put it in the bin. There's some kind of emotional connection you have now with that card that's got a face on it.
Oh, I mean, I remember getting a handwritten letter through the post from someone, and they lauded it as I've taken the time to write you a letter in an old-fashioned way because this, that, and they told me all about their services and stuff. And then I got a follow-up message on LinkedIn from the guy about 3 days later. He goes, hey, Steve, sent you a handwritten letter. Just wanted to check you've received it. And I sent him a picture back of the letter ripped up with just his face in the corner. Because I was like, yeah, got it. Thought it was great.
It's just, this is harsh.
Brutal.
I did it in a funny way that we both laughed over. And I said, look, because you can't give that letter to someone else. Not like you can reuse it. So it just went straight into recycling. But
well, at least he got a response.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was like, I wanted to make sure that he knew that I'd read it and I saw it, but it wasn't for us. But it was done in a friendly, jovial way.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Not in a brutal, never do this again. It was like we both laughed. No, it wasn't just like he wasn't crying. It was
do you think there could be some way of bringing some personality, even more, you might think, into insurance by perhaps giving insurance policies their own human name?
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but I do.
Well, you've got the Darren policy, I see.
Yeah.
You say things like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd want to give them old, like, I think I read somewhere the other day that hasn't been a baby called Gary for about 15 years. And that's kind of like that's kind of how I think about it, is if you get a few policies with weird names, maybe it would be pretty good, actually.
That'd be a cool marketing campaign, actually. Yeah.
The Douglas
take
policy.
The Douglas and the Gary.
Yeah.
Maybe the Edith or
I think that's
Beryl.
People get called that nowadays. It's Gary and Steve were the least named babies in the last 20 years or something.
Maybe Colin.
Colin's a good one.
Don't want to offend anybody out there, by the way.
Sorry, Colin.
But
so we like these brands then, these companies that are perhaps with respect, selling something fairly mundane and boring, but making it interesting, bringing some personality to the brand, and by virtue of that, making it accessible. And I can think of many others. Perhaps just get your views on this. So, did you mention Monzo? Or you mentioned Monzo earlier.
I mentioned Monzo earlier. Yeah, they do something incredible, I think, on LinkedIn, where they've given their employee Greg, I think, his own LinkedIn account, and it's got hundreds of thousands of followers, and it's so clever because people just follow it to find out what Greg's up to in the office now. I don't think they've got. They probably have got Greg in the office by now, but like they almost use Greg as the stereotypical office employee, and they take fun of him at like Christmas parties and things like that. So Monzo have got millions of followers on LinkedIn. Greg's got just as many, and it's great because they're humanizing banking, and whilst trying to move away from a human approach to banking, they're bringing back this human element that still creates this emotional attachment to a brand, which I think is incredibly clever.
Because for all the increase in AI and automation, like that human connection is still so important for businesses, isn't it? And it's great to see that they're leveraging that in what they do, considering they are a challenger brand. They're a digital bank. So I think it's an interesting concept. I need to meet Greg. I need to follow them on LinkedIn. What a guy.
Yeah, I think, like I said, Greg's a bit of a myth, the man, the myth, the legend almost, but he's definitely somewhere.
I think there's been a few others as well, I think, in banking and finance. I mean, Revolut has been mentioned already. Do you remember the Emma app?
Yes. I keep seeing adverts for that, actually, which are nicely timed because coming into a new year and you're thinking about the year ahead and doing things differently, maybe smartening up your act. They really press that budgeting point, and you could be overspending on all these different subscriptions you didn't know existed, budgeting, all the rest of it. So they're really targeting me and I think a lot of people of my demographic at the moment, it feels like.
Well, it's interesting that so the Emma app, I don't know if you've heard of used it, Steve. So since open banking came in, however long ago that was, which meant that you had these third-party apps that could connect with your bank account and then sort of tell you lots of things about how you're spending it. But it's interesting that they've called it the Emma app, and given it a name. Like this is, realizing your name is Emma, I have to be careful. This is I want to say the average person. You know what I mean? It could be called Ian and be the same. But yes.
And it's not just the Emma app. Obviously, there's the Emma mattress. What is it about my really common English name?
Probably that alliteration, isn't it? I think that probably works quite.
It sounds
it's
nice.
A nice name that you can add onto other things. Yeah.
Now I'm thinking, are there any other companies that just have a first human name as the name of their company?
Well, funnily enough, this is a bit of a plug for Andy here, but he's just closing around for his AI law firm called Keith. So
fantastic.
What a name!
Yeah,
Keith?
It's in convey again. It's the whole name thing. It's to humanize the process whilst moving away in an AI direction.
Did you say it's conveyancing law as well? Keith, the conveyancer.
Yeah,
rolls off the tongue.
Really does,
memorable.
But it's with some irony, perhaps, it's because law firms have always been called after people's last names.
Exactly.
So and so or so and so and. So interesting that it's not that far away from reality beforehand. It's just using a first name instead of a last name.
Yeah, I think they had this thing where they were going to call it Keith and Co, and in the end they just went, just call it Keith. There's no need. There's no need. Just call it Keith. So one to look out for. But again, it's one of a few now that I think are going down the namesake route. And
I've got a list here as well about some other brands that perhaps want to bring some more personality to who they are, ultimately selling the same thing as everyone else. So the smoothie brand Innocent, everything around that, even putting woolly hats on their products.
Yeah,
I was part of that campaign, actually, going back many, many moons. The Big Knit campaign,
yes,
I think it was called. Really cool concept.
With a name like Innocent, and again, with Really Honest as well, one of the things that we have to take into consideration is that there will be times where we won't be as innocent as perhaps we should be, and we might get called out for doing something wrong that we'd have to rectify straight away from a Really Honest perspective. So it's interesting to choose a name that is intended to put you at the head of the table almost. Because I remember Innocent in particular, there was a bit of a sugar scandal, wasn't there? Just after their kind of like their and obviously they've come out at the other end absolutely fine, but it's how the brand deals with that can be as powerful as getting in that situation in the first place. So
I think holding yourself accountable really is
Exactly,
by
yeah,
using a name like that.
They've stood the test of time and diversified their product range as well.
Of course, I'm not surprised we haven't mentioned this before because they've been talked about on the show, previous episodes, Tony's Chocolonely.
Oh yes, the Willy Wonka bar.
Yes,
Or so
right.
it appeared to me.
Sure, yeah. They were
thought-
also at the Blue Earth Summit last year, weren't they? And they were
Yes.
they were good to talk to. It's a nice brand. There's a bit too much salt on the salted caramel for me, but I think
That's my favourite one.
Yeah, it's just,
Ah.
but I do I really respect what they're doing, and again, it's another business that put purpose before.
Yes.
Quite a few other things, so good for them.
And just finally, maybe a couple others. I don't know if you've heard of these. Drunk Elephant.
Yes,
Okay,
I
I hadn't
have
heard of that one
heard
before.
of them. In fact, a skin doctor I follow on Instagram has promoted some of their products, and I really love and respect his work. So he was endorsing these products. In fact, I think they were were tanning drops. You won't be surprised. I like an all-round glow, guys. So yeah, I hadn't, because he'd endorsed them on Instagram. I then looked them up, and it looks lovely, quite a premium skincare range, I must
Interesting.
say. But yeah, the name is interesting.
Yeah.
I'd love to know more about where that's come from, especially if they're appealing to, a younger audience. Drunk Elephant.
I've been called that once,
Interesting.
so like maybe that's how it came about. Maybe they were like,
you were the inspiration,
yeah,
Steve.
I've been called a drunk elephant before. So,
On the beauty and personal care side of things as well. So the Dollar Shave Club. Now, I've never bought from them, but I could understand why they may be popular because it's kind of like a bit of run seal. It does what it says on the tin sort of thing, right? So like, okay, well this razor is going to cost me $1, and I'm going to subscribe to it, and it's going to be once a week. I think that was the idea, and now that was them being disruptive. And now, of course, they're on the shelves in Boots like everyone else, but they've made a name for themselves selling simple things. Who would have thought that razors needed disrupting?
well, I think
There you
I
go.
remember Harry's starting off as well, wasn't it? I mean,
Yep.
they were
Another
name that humanized that process, and I've always, that kind of Gillette, the best a man can get, that's lost on me a bit nowadays. I just like,
It's very 80s and 90s.
yeah, it
isn't
does, and I think it did. It's one of those industries that did really need kind of bringing, modernising, and kind of getting out there.
It's interesting. We still remember the slogan, don't we?
Yeah.
And there's so many others like it as well. Even if you don't use the product, you remember the marketing and the soundtrack. I won't sing it.
Yeah. It's,
Steve, before we go, what's your advice for marketers today?
oh God, just continue to be different. I hate seeing the same campaigns rolled out time and time again. I think even if some people hate it, some people will love and respect you for it. And I think it's those that you should be shooting for, the guys that really want to see it. So.
And if people want to know more about Really Honest and your products, where can people find you?
Yeah, so connect with me on LinkedIn, I suppose, if you want to know more. But really
Don't
honest,
give you a business
no,
card.
No,
for
don't give me a
goodness sake.
business. No,
Or
write you a
hand-
letter.
Written letter.
No written letters. Reallyhonest.co is our website address. You can find more about us there, and reach out.
And is there a way that listeners can support your business or purpose-driven mission?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you like what we're doing and you want insurance to be done differently, and you care about the insurance that you buy, we're probably the right partner for you. We're not an off-the-shelf provider. You don't come to us if you want cheap and cheerful. I'm not saying that we won't be the right price, but what I'm saying is that we take time to understand you and your business and your motives, more importantly. So if that sounds like you, then yeah.
Brilliant. Steve, thanks for sharing your insights today. Don't forget, you can head over to pitchpurpose.co.uk, where you can find all our links to our socials, plus the platforms where you can like, share, and comment, plus subscribe to future episodes. We're on Spotify, and we're also on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. I want to thank our guest, Steve. Thank you for this week's episodes and sharing your insights.
Really appreciate you having me. Thanks.
This has been Pitch Purpose, the marketing podcast with Ian Scott and Emma Healy. Thank you and see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye bye.